The clink of wine glasses lingered in the air, a fragile echo of our laughter just moments before. I sat frozen, staring at the half-eaten plate of pasta across from me, the steam still curling upward like a ghost abandoning its body. My husband, David, was gone, not just from the table, but from the house. His chair shoved back, the front door left ajar, letting in a draft that chilled my bare arms. All because of one sentence, one careless slip. "I saw you with her at the cafe today." My voice had been light, teasing, but his face had collapsed, as if I'd struck him with something heavier than words. Now, the silence in our dining room was deafening, and my heart pounded with a question I wasn't ready to answer. What had I just uncovered? The evening had started so warmly. Our small dining room glowed under the amber light of the chandelier, the table set with the care I always took on Fridays. Our night to reconnect. David's laughter had filled the space as he recounted a colleague's botched presentation, his hands animated, his eyes crinkling the way they did when he was genuinely happy. I'd leaned into it, savoring the sound, letting it wrap around me like a familiar blanket. We'd been married 12 years, and these moments, though rarer now, still felt like home. But there was a shadow in his gaze tonight, a flicker I'd noticed but dismissed. He'd been late coming home all week, his phone buzzing more than usual, his answers vague. Work stress, I told myself. Just work. I poured another glass of Merlot, the liquid glugging softly, and tried to rewind a moment in my mind. The cafe. I'd been on my lunch break, scrolling through emails outside the corner bistro, when I saw him, David, in his gray blazer, sitting across from a woman with sleek black hair and a smile that seemed too intimate for a stranger. They leaned toward each other, her hand brushing his as she laughed. I'd watched, my sandwich forgotten, telling myself it was nothing, a client, a colleague, a friend. But the way he tilted his head, the way he used to look at me, had lodged like a splinter in my chest. I hadn't meant to bring it up tonight. It slipped out, wrapped in a chuckle, as if I could laugh away the unease. "Her?" he'd said, his forepaws in midair, his voice sharp like a blade catching light. "What are you talking about, Claire?" His eyes, usually so warm, were guarded, searching mine for how much I knew. I faltered, my smile wavering. "The woman at the cafe," I said, trying to keep it light. "You look cozy, that's all." His jaw tightened, and for a split second I saw something raw, guilt, maybe, or fear, before he masked it with a forced laugh. "You're imagining things," he said, but his hand trembled as he set down his glass. Then he stood, his chair scraping the hardwood, and walked out without another word. Now, alone in the dining room, I traced the rim of my glass, my mind racing. The house felt too big, the shadows in the corners too deep. I stood, my legs unsteady, and wandered to the living room, where his coat still hung over the armrest, his keys glinting on the coffee table. He hadn't taken them. Wherever he'd gone, it was on foot, impulsive, as if he couldn't bear to stay in the same space as my question. I sank onto the couch, clutching my phone, tempted to call him but afraid of what he'd say, or worse, what he wouldn't. The signs had been there, hadn't they? The late nights system, nights, the extra phone notifications, the way he'd started locking his laptop with a new password. I'd brushed them off, chalking up to stress or routine changes. But now, those moments replayed like a montage of warnings I'd ignored. His sudden interest in a new cologne, the way he'd linger in the shower, as if washing something away. My stomach twisted. I didn't want to believe it. Didn't want to see the cracks in the life we'd built. A life of shared dreams, late-night talks, and promises we'd whispered under the stars. David wasn't the type to betray. He was steady, kind, the man who'd held my hand through every storm. But the woman at the cafe, her laugh, her touch, hadn't felt like nothing. I opened my phone, my thumb hovering over his contact. Instead, I scrolled a photo app, my heart thudding as I searched for evidence I didn't want to find. There, buried in a folder labeled work, was a selfie I'd never seen. David, smiling, his arm around her, the same woman from the cafe, her cheek pressed against his, her eyes bright with something that looked like love. The timestamp was 3 months ago. 3 months. My breath caught, sharp and jagged, like glass in my throat. I zoomed in, studying her face, her dark hair falling over one shoulder. Her lips curved in a way that said she knew him, really knew him. My hand shook as I swiped to another photo. Them at a park, her head on his shoulder, his hand resting on her knee. The room spun. I dropped the phone, my chest tight with a pain so raw it felt like my ribs were caving in. How had I missed this? How had I let myself believe we were fine? I thought of our mornings together, his coffee breath as he kissed me goodbye, his promises to be home for dinner. Lies, all of it. I wanted to scream, to shatter the wine glasses still sitting on the table, to demand answers from the empty house. But all I could do was sit there, drowning in the weight of my own blindness. The front door creaked open. David stood in the doorway, his face pale, his eyes red-rimmed. "Claire," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I stood, my arms crossed, my heart a war zone of love and rage. "Who is she?" I asked, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. He flinched, his hands shoving into his pockets. "Her name's Emily," he said, and the sound of her name on his lips was a fresh wound. It wasn't supposed to happen. It was just a moment that became more. A moment. I laughed, the sound bitter, slicing through the air. 3 months isn't a moment, David. 3 months is a choice. His shoulders slumped, and for the first time, I saw him not as my husband but as a stranger, someone who'd carried this secret, while sharing my bed. "I didn't want to hurt you," he said, stepping closer. I backed away, the space between us a chasm. "I love you, Claire. I always have. But Emily, she sees parts of me I thought I'd lost." I wanted to claw at his words, to tear them apart. "Parts of you?" I spat. "What about the parts of me that trusted you, that built a life with you?" My voice broke, and I hated the tears burning my eyes. He reached for me, but I shook my head, my body rigid. "Don't," I said. "Just tell me why." He exhaled, his gaze dropping to floor. "She's pregnant," he whispered. The world tilted. Pregnant. The word was a sledgehammer, shattering the last fragments of hope I'd clung to. I saw it all in a flash. Her hand on his, their laughter, a future they'd already started without me. I wanted to hate her, to paint her as a villain. But her smile in that photo wasn't cruel. It was real, full of a joy I hadn't seen in David for years. That was the worst part. She wasn't just a mistake. She was a mirror, showing me the cracks in our marriage I'd refused to see. I turned away, staring out the window at the street lamp's cold glow. "Get out," I said, my voice a ghost of itself. He didn't argue. The door clicked shut behind him, and the silence returned heavier now, filled with the weight of a life unraveling. I sank to the floor, clutching the phone with their photo still glowing on the screen. The betrayal wasn't just his. It was hers, too, and maybe even mine, for believing love could be enough to keep us whole.